as Jen said this morning, we're going to talk a little bit about our overall sustainability program, where we're at, some of the successes that we've had, and some of the areas that you can help us in. So I'm sure, as all of you know, we are a huge campus and we're getting only bigger. You can see all the construction going on. They're actually counting the number of cranes. I think there's somewhere up around 10 cranes on campus right now. So, and there's more of that to come. We, as you know, are heavy in using resources, and the reason why is because we have, one of the reasons why is we have 2 medical centers and we have over 900 wet labs, which just puts a huge a huge strain on the resources that we have. We have 65,000 people thereabouts on campus, and we're getting bigger. We're adding more students, we're adding staff, so just expect to see, you said you were trying to find parking on campus today.
I didn't know they took the 5th row of Gilman and beat away.
Yeah,
so
it's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
But they're doing some things to help make it better. Increasing the number of students on campus, of course. So how are we going to do all this and still be sustainable? Well, the first trick is we have a very small group. There's only 3 staff. We have 11 or so students, kind of up and down in that number. Jen helps us keep track of all that. We work directly from Vice Chancellor Matthews. We have several groups that we support. One of the main ones being the Advisory Committee on Sustainability. I think a couple of you are part of that, or one of you at least is. And then we have several groups like this that help us, day in, day out with our sustainability program here on campus. And of course, the Sustainability Resource Center, where you can find Jen 80 day. Every day, any day.
Except Tuesday.
Except Tuesday. What's our mission? So really, what we're really striving to do is to incorporate, infuse sustainability into everything that we do here on campus. When I say everything, I mean everything from operations to academics to student engagement. We just really want to make sustainability a part of all of our daily lives here on campus. And at the same time, we want to do it in a fiscally business responsible manner. We're not just going to go out and do something because it's sustainable. We need to figure out how we're going to fund it, or make it a practical thing to do. So, all of those we have to tie together. At the highest level, from the UC system, this is kind of the sustainability organization. We have 2 main groups. We have the Sustainability Steering Committee, which Vice Chancellor Matthews represents the campus on. They just met about a month ago. Their primary goal really is to look at the sustainable practices policy and make sure it's updated, make sure that it makes sense and that the campuses are following it. They just reviewed a few minor changes to it at their last meeting. They also go through things like the annual sustainability report, which we're going to talk about. And then they look at other things going on across the campuses and across the system. They support a group called the Energy Service Unit, which actually, for those of you who don't know, the Energy Service Unit is how we get our energy. The UC Office of the President actually buys our electricity that we get from the grid for the campus. So they have a whole group that works just on those kind of things. Then we also have the Global Climate Leadership Council, which specifically looks at carbon neutrality. We have 2 representatives on it, Vice Chancellor Lay and Vice Chancellor Sandy Brown. I actually have been privileged to be a part of it because I'm the co-chair of the Climate Change Working Group, so I'm actually on it as well right now. So that's kind of a neat group, and they're doing some really cool things looking at carbon neutrality. How many of you had a chance to look at the Sustainable Practices Policy? Yes? Okay, well, a couple of you have. A lot of stuff in it. I was going to say, I hope Colin has.
What is it? Sorry?
You can go online, just Google UC Sustainable Practices Policy. So it has several areas that we try to apply to the campus on a daily basis. Of course, one of the biggest ones is the carbon neutrality, carbon neutral by 2025 in our emissions that we generate here on campus or that we bring in through campus grid. 2050 for commuters, air travel, but really we're working on all of them now. We're not saying, well, 2025, we're not going to work on commuters until 2025. We're working on all of it right now to try to improve that. Rebuilding, we'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing there, but right now the requirement is LEED silver or better. We really strive for gold. We actually, most of our buildings now are actually going platinum, so we're doing really well there. We use what's called Labs 21. It's kind of a national standard of how you make your labs green and build green labs. We're looking at our energy efficiency, our energy use intensity targets for our new buildings. In terms of operations, some of you, I think, are involved with Green Labs. I know Jen runs the Green Lab certification program. Sarah does the Green Labs overall program. And I have to say, I have to brag about these two. We have one of the most sustainable Green Labs programs in the system. We have, are we ahead of Santa Barbara?
Right.
No, but we're closing in. We will be ahead of Santa
Yeah.
Barbara.
And their program's older.
And their
Yeah.
program's older.
And they're
Not
smaller
that we're
campus.
competitive or anything.
So, yeah, be proud of yourselves, pat yourself on the back. We have one of the best programs in the system. LEED, we apply LEED, what they call operation and maintenance, to our buildings. We have about 4 or 5 LEED O&M certified buildings on campus. And then really in here, Jen will talk more about a green office certification. We want to be part of that, but that kind of fits in this area too. Transportation looks at both our fleet as well as our commuters. Again, fleet, we're doing really well in. About 64% of our vehicles are alternative transportation. And we'll talk a little bit about that and what we're doing there. Commuters, we're actually, believe it or not, we're doing good with commuters. We've actually met the target there, so we're doing good there. Procurement, Sarah's going to talk more about this later on, but you can see a lot of things there in trying to make our procurement more sustainable.
Honestly.
That's good. Also, in terms of food services, we got Colin with HDH, we got you with University Centers, which are 2 of our biggest food service areas, and they're doing a lot of really good things in sustainable foods. Water, this is actually one of our biggest success stories. We need to be at 36% reduction by 2025. And we're at 30%. So we're real close on that one. We're getting there. Zero waste, Sarah will talk in more detail about that. We got some room to work there, but we're doing a lot of really good things. Some of you are part of it, some of the really good things we're doing. Sarah's gonna get out, you're gonna have to probably leave 1 or 2 minutes early to go get on a call for our new RFP for the waste hauler. And we've tried to incorporate a lot of good things into that new contract so that can help with our waste diversion. And medical center, we don't have anybody from medical, that's okay, we don't have anybody from medical center, but the medical center is, for a long time, they were really not fully included in the policy, but they are now. They follow what's called Practice Green Health, and they are doing a lot of good things in that area in terms of their energy use. They just hired a sustainability manager, so they now have their own.
Started yesterday.
Oh, okay, cool. So we'll have to get her over here.
Yes.
So yeah, that's really cool. So, we're doing some really good stuff. We're going to talk kind of specifically about our stars. Sarah works a lot on that. We have to report every year. We do an annual report to the Office of the President on how we're doing in sustainability, and then we also are part of the Sierra Club Personal Review Second Nature, where we report our carbon commitment, and then some other awards. You just kind of see some of them. A lot of them really have focused around energy use, electric vehicle program, but we've done pretty well over the last year or two, the Freezer Challenge, so we're doing really well in getting recognition for our program. Sarah's going to talk about story.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Sarah McKinstry. I'm a sustainability manager within the Sustainability Office. And one of the things that I do is collaborate with people across campus to gather data to help report out both to the Office of the President and then a couple of ranking systems on how we're doing around sustainability. So when we're trying to ask, well, where are we at? This is one way in which to gauge where we're doing well, areas for improvement, and benchmarking ourselves against other campuses. So STARS stands for Sustainability Tracking, Assessment, and Rating System. It started off in North America by a group called the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Ed. They're now going global, so there are hundreds of campuses across the US and Canada, a couple in Mexico, that report into STARS on a regular basis. They're starting to get some schools in Europe doing it too. It's been around for about 10 years. We got our first STARS score in 2013. We were at STARS Gold, and we just got our second score this past May. And even though the rating system continues to be revised and improved, and they kind of up the ante as to what you have to do to keep a gold or higher level. We still got gold, which is good. I'm not going to go through everything. I just want to show you all the information that they asked for, the categories that they asked for, so you see what we're reporting on. Can we go back one more? I'm sorry. That's okay. So they ask about academics, both what's taught in the classroom and co-curricular learning for students around sustainability. They ask about research all across campus happening in sustainability or aspects of sustainability like climate change or social justice or water conservation and the like. They ask how we engage people both on and off campus in sustainability. And then they ask about pretty much every operational effort you can think of. How are we doing from air and climate, buildings, energy, food, grounds, purchasing, transportation, waste, and water. We're collecting a lot of data there. And then how we plan and administer all of this. So coordination of plans on campus. What has really improved in STARS over time is that they're really starting to understand how the social and cultural components, social justice, diversity, pay equity, all of that are part of sustainability. So they're asking us more questions about diversity, affordability, how we deal with our endowment dollars at the UC-wide level, and what are we investing in and what are we divesting from, well-being and work. And then you get a chance to show some exemplary best practices, like our Green Labs program that not a lot of campuses are doing yet, and some really cool innovation stuff that's not asked for elsewhere, like our microgrid and our electric vehicle infrastructure. So we got gold last time, and I can see point levels in each category, and we can kind of figure out where we're at and where we want to improve through STARS. Dave's
Okay, talk climate. It's been a cold winter. Cold rainy winter. How many of you know the different types of emissions that we have? So there's 3 major emissions. Scope 1, which is what is from what we generate here on campus. Scope 2 is from the electricity or any energy we get from the grid. In our case, it's primarily electricity. And then the Scope 3 is from our commuters and our air travel. Like I said, Scope 1 and 2, we have to get down to 0 by 2025. Scope 3, they gave us a little bit longer. Although there's actually some move at the UC level about moving that date up. So even though it's 2050 now, that may actually move up. So we'll see where that goes. So where do our emissions come from? That big blue block there in the bottom, that's our cogen plant. Cogen is a good thing. It's very efficient. We're maximizing the benefit we get from burning natural gas. Downside is we're burning natural gas. So, we have some things that are in the works that are going to try to reduce that big block there. But we have some other things we need to work on. That big blue one, kind of the fourth up from the bottom, that's commuters. So that's a big chunk of what we do. Air travel is one that always amazes me. Air travel, the green on top, that's actually 6% of our emissions.
And that's probably underreported because it's really hard to track.
By probably somewhere around 50%.
Yeah.
Is the commuting, is that done by miles or time? Because as people are taking longer, half an hour to drive 7 miles, is that?
Well, it's by miles. I mean, it's really, we actually, because the only way we can do it is compare it to zip code, where people are coming from.
Yeah, it's just as the traffic keeps getting worse, people's commutes keep getting longer, that's burning more.
I mean, there's a lot of things in the
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, and we have to look at actually on the good side, we need to figure out how electric vehicles fit into that.
Right.
Because they'll actually reduce emissions. So, yeah, there's commuting is a tough one.
Yeah.
We've got some things we need to figure out there. You can see purchase elections, that's okay. And then you can also see, so 2020, is that 2024?
5.
Yeah, that's right, is that 20? I mean, that's where we need to be, is down there, and we're up here. So we got a ways to go. So, yeah, and that was what we reported.
Next.
Yeah. So, how are we going to get there? First, I'm excited about this. We have our 2019 Climate Action Plan. You can go online, you can see our new Climate Action Plan. It's only taken 11 years to get a new one out.
But it's worth it. It's worth it because
yeah, if you're interested, you can go see what we're doing. But basically, what's in here is what's here.
yeah.
And what that is, that's called a carbon reduction, carbon abatement wedge. And what that does is it kind of adds up. It looks at all of the strategies that we have in here, and it actually shows you how they're all going to help get us to 0 by 2025. And then we don't extend it out now to 2050, but if we did, you would see how the other emissions come in. We actually have a goal here at 2020 where we need to be 0, or we need to meet our 1990 emissions by 2020. So that's what this line shows. This includes a lot of strategies, everything from energy efficiency, which we're doing great in. We've done $100 million in energy efficiency over the last 10 years or so, which has helped reduce our emissions. It also saves us money. We're saving $14.5 million alone through energy efficiency. So that's a really good success story there. The very top one, the purple, it's what we call high performance buildings. So all of the new buildings that we're building, we want to make them as energy efficient as possible. So what that shows is that if we accomplish what we want to accomplish, we can reduce our emissions growth. So as we're building new buildings, the emissions aren't going to keep growing. So one of the big things that we want to do, to say we're burning natural gas, well, the UC Office of the President is working to get us biomethane. It's called directed biogas. They actually go out, put contracts in place. They have 2 in place right now, one in Louisiana, one in Wisconsin, with dairy farms, and they're getting, we're not actually getting the gas here, we're getting the credit for buying the gas. And biogas, biomethane is considered a renewable resource. The other thing that they've done, where is it on here? Wholesale power program right here, which is this big chunk right here. So you all know we get about 20%, today we get about 20% of our electricity from the grid. That's what's not produced here on campus at the cogen with our solar and our fuel cell. We buy our electricity from the Office of the President. Right now, today, 100% of that electricity is clean electricity. I don't say renewable, they're saying renewable by 2021, but today they're saying clean. What that means is, the only reason they can't claim it as renewables because there's some large-scale hydro, which is technically not considered renewable. They also have some nuclear in there. They want to get the nuclear out of the mix. They got some other stuff like that. But still, it's clean energy, getting down to all 100% renewable. So that's a big chunk of what we can do. And then this last one right here, that's the cogen plant. We pay off the cogen plant in 2032. And at that point, what we want to do is take a look at what makes sense. How can we get off of natural gas, or at least reduce the impact of the natural gas? So that red chunk kind of models a couple different scenarios that we're looking at, which range from 100% electrification. So right now we have what they call combined heat and power. We take the heat from the turbines that are in there. We can use that to make hot water, cold water, heat the campus, that kind of thing. But we can do that electrically. So if we're getting all this clean energy from the Office of the President, why don't we just use all that electricity to do the same thing with the cogen plants? So that's one option. Another option is we get rid of the turbines, so we're not burning natural gas, and use electricity from the grid to replace that, but we still burn the biomethane gas, the biogas, in the boilers that we have at the plant. And then we can go 100% biogas. Downside, we're not sure if we can get enough biogas out on the market, but that is an option. And who knows by 2032, who knows where we'll be at, who knows what the technology will be. UC Irvine today, they actually have, through some of the researchers, they produce excess solar energy. They can take that solar energy and make renewable hydrogen, electrolysis. So they use excess electricity to make renewable hydrogen. You can inject hydrogen into your natural gas supply up to about 15% or so. So offset some of that natural gas that you're burning. So that's kind of a thing that Irvine's doing. We're looking at it. We have the same kind of turbines they do. So we know we can do it. So like I said, who knows what the technology is going to be in 2032. You guys will all be here. I won't, but I'll get to that in a minute. Okay. I already talked about a lot of this. Yeah, I talked about a lot of this. Didn't talk about institution, cultural change right there. You guys are a part of that. That's kind of some of our behavior and what we want to do here on campus. It's also looking at things like, do we need as many offices as we have? Can we do more work from home? Can we do things like what we call hot desking, where two can share a desk? Does everybody need their own desk? So we're looking at things like that to reduce how much construction we need to do. And space utilization. Right now today, without even going out and look at it, we know probably 10 to 15% of our space is underutilized. So if we can do a better job of finding out where some of those spaces are, use it better, then we don't have to build as much. And the Chancellor actually is aware of that, and Chancellor and Pierre, the CFO, they realize they can save money by doing that. So that is really being looked at hard right now. Air travel we've talked about, transportation. Talked about a lot of this. The goal right now by policy is that we'll have 40% of the biomethane by 2025. We have 10% under contract right now. OP is working on getting that other 30% under contract. We're looking at some small scale, what we call small scale distributed generation. One of the big things that we're looking at is anaerobic digesters. We have a small student built one over at Rogers Garden. We're looking at putting more of those around campus so we can directly handle some of our food waste as well as make some of our own biogas here on campus. Of course, looking at doing more solar. We plan to do about 4 more megawatts of solar, part of our new construction as well as existing buildings. So we have a lot of stuff going on there. We know we're going to have to get offsets. We actually thought we were going to have a meeting here on campus today, a workshop, but you should see in about the next month or so, a request for ideas, is what it's called, RFI, coming out from the Office of the President. And they're going to ask for ideas of offsets that we can develop within the UC system. Now, carbon offsets, you can go out on the market, you can buy them today. You spend money, they go build solar in some place else, they go do carbon sequestration projects somewhere around the world. But what we want to do is, instead of doing, spending that money out on the market, we want to develop our own offsets within the UC system and use that money to support research we're doing, to support student projects, to support ideas all of you may have. And when the RFI comes out, it's for faculty, staff, and students to submit ideas. So if you have a great idea, something you think would really, help, submit the idea. We're going to have a workshop late April.
Yes, stay tuned. We'll share.
Yeah, so everybody will be invited to the workshop. We're going to do one up here on main campus, one down at SIO. So you're more than welcome to come and hear more about it. Already talked about cogen. You guys all know we have a microgrid. Okay, so the microgrid, basically what that does is it allows us the flexibility to control, I say, to control our own energy density. Destiny. We're watching the movie.
Thinking of campus development.
Yeah.
The word density comes.
So if you get a chance, I've been doing tours, but there's actually a virtual tour now. You can go online, go to our sustainability website. You can kind of go through the virtual tour that shows a lot of this and talks about it. But if you get a chance, a lot of it is out here at P703 on the East Campus. You can see the fuel cell, you can see our CNG station, which is 100% renewable. Our CNG is 100% renewable, our diesel is 100% renewable. You can see there's some electric, fast charging, electric vehicle chargers over here, energy storage. See more of it here. This is the fast chargers here. This actually depicts some of the research that our Center for Energy Research is doing. They're doing some really cool stuff. One of the professors is working in solar forecasting, so it's going to make the solar energy that we get, not just here on campus, but really in the community, it's going to make it more reliable. Also, energy storage, doing a lot of work in energy storage. This is a big bank of batteries that's in the vans that you see out there at the East Campus. This is a neat project. This is actually energy storage as well. It's called a flow battery. So rather than having big batteries like this, there's a big tank in here, and it kind of moves this fluid from one side to the other. By doing that, it actually can store energy by pumping it. So, students, we obviously have a lot of students around, and they are very engaged in what we're doing. This is just some example of some of the projects that they've done. Have you heard for Engineers for Sustainable World? You were in ESW, right, Colin?
Not in it, but
Oh, okay, but you've worked with them, yeah. They do some really cool things. Solar chill, place for students to come, they can charge their laptops, charge their phones, sit under the shade of the solar over there. So feel free to, we need more people going over there, so, yeah. Yeah, it's in the village, if you're on that side of the campus, feel free to use it. This right here is over behind Canyon Vista. It's a little small wind turbine, has a little bit of solar, has battery storage down under here. So again, the students can go charge their laptops and cell phones. And then we talked about anaerobic digesters over in Rogers Garden. This could kind of be the way of the future a lot for our waste diversion, all right? Because they're actually taking post-consumer waste, taking it from SIO, taking it from university centers, taking it from 64 North. So that's really cool. We want to do more of that. I think so. Yep. Green buildings. Of course, we apply LEED standards to all of our buildings. Gold has like kind of become our minimum, platinums on most of the buildings, but we actually now have a group of about 40 people met last summer and said, hey, we need to look at our green building standard. We've had a green building standard on the campus, but we want to update that. So they're looking at things like right now, should we go from silver to gold as our minimum, and then actually, kind of shoot for platinum at that point, but also looking at some of the other building standards out there. There's a standard called WELL, where we look at the health, how healthy are our buildings, how healthy are the buildings for the people that have to work in them. We look at water quality, air quality, how much daylight you get, things like that. Looking at what's called the Living Building Challenge, where with Living Building Challenge, not just are the buildings resource users, but they can actually be resource generators. We can put enough solar on it to put energy back into the grid, or we can, reuse some of the water on site, things like that. So that group is working right now. They're also looking at the metrics we need to use, and they're looking at how do we make sure that sustainability is incorporated into all of our real estate actions. And that's everything from what we call our public-private partnership buildings to all of our contracts that we have in place. For those of you who don't know, as we do a lot of this construction, you're going to see a lot more vendor participation and all that. Every single building we're building today is going to have some kind of commercial space in it. And the reason is it generates money for the campus, which is a good thing, but we need to make sure that they're doing their operations sustainably as well. So expect to see more on that probably in the next several months. We just did kind of a cool thing with LEED. With LEED, you can actually certify some of the credits across the whole campus. So every time we do a LEED project, we already have some certified credits. And students led that effort, so that was kind of pretty cool. Fleet, already talked a lot about the fleet. 65% alternative vehicles, our CNG is renewable. We're increasing the number of electric vehicles. Commuting, we have, actually that number is low. Well, Byron is now saying, Byron Washington is saying, we have 1,000 electric vehicles coming to campus on a daily basis. Not that, that's not just all people here on campus. That's like patients coming to the hospital. That's people, you'd be surprised how many people pull off of the highway and use our fast chargers to charge their BMWs and whatever over there. Cars I can't afford.
Went through the leasing program.
There we go. Yeah, we have the
There's
leasing
the
program.
program.
So if you're interested, we have the leasing and the low-cost options for the campus faculty, staff, and students. People still use the spin bikes. I know you see a lot of scooters, but people are still using spin bikes, and we do have a few electric spin bikes on campus. That's okay. That's okay. Just some numbers on how we're doing. Like I said, we've already actually met the goal in terms of commuters. I think you're up next.
So we, as a UC system, updated our, what used to be called our environmentally preferred purchasing requirements. It's now a full sustainability procurement policy. And what it does is align our environmental or our green spend with spend on minority and small business owners to create a full sustainability set of goals for procurement. So there's a lot within them. We have Mark Ortiz and Tony Singleton in procurement who are helping to lead up this effort. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail except to say there's a real emphasis on reduction and reuse before you buy stuff. There are goals for spending on more sustainable products and more socially responsible products, and we're gonna do a better job helping to flag those for people in Marketplace to help you find them. And there's a ban right now on EPS foam and other foam, and so we're starting to work with suppliers to help them transition away from styrofoam into packaging and other stuff that might be more reusable or recyclable. So this is going to take a little time to shift, but we just got this into policy last year. Dave already mentioned food a little bit. It's really thanks to dining and university centers and others that we're close to our 20% sustainable spend on food that you see in the dining halls and markets and in some of our retail locations. Right now, there's a UC-wide group looking at revising this policy to maybe have less of an emphasis on regional local procurement and more on plant-based low carbon food procurement, still healthy. That's in discussion, so you might see some changes coming forward.
Yay.
We have 2 restaurants with GRA.
Yeah, we have 2 restaurants that are Green Restaurant certified already, thanks to university centers, which is awesome. Yeah, so you can see we're close to the goal, and actually at retail right now, we're over the goal. As we grow our retail on campus, we're gonna have to work with all of those vendors to let them know about this policy. But, okay. Dave, you want me to do water?
Go for it.
So we have a potable water reduction goal. We have already met the 2020 goal, and that's in large part because of our use of recycled and reclaimed water on campus in both our cooling towers connected to our cogen plant and for irrigation on campus. Plus, we've done some conversion of turf over to, Chris can talk about this too, over to more native landscaping and other stuff to reduce water. So since we were doing well as a system, we upped the ante, and we have a new goal to reach of about 36% based on a 3-year average, and so we're working towards that. So you can see, this is the amount of reduction we've done, not the amount of water we're using. So high is good. Everyone's favorite topic, zero waste. So we have had at least a diversion goal in place for a number of years. UC-wide, we changed this policy so we not only have a 90% diversion goal, we want to divert 90% of what we throw away from landfill or from burning waste energy. We now have a per person waste reduction goal as well. So we're looking upfront and making sure we put that emphasis on reduction and reuse. If you think about zero waste, it's a hierarchy, and the first thing you want to do is reduce. Do you even need to buy anything at all? Then reuse, repurpose, redesign. Then you kind of get to recycling and composting, which is where we all tend to focus, and it's necessary, but you got to do all this other stuff up front. And then you get to the landfill as your very last resort. So we're not doing as well in this area as we could. You want to move to the next slide? We'll talk about what we're doing. Oh,
No.
yeah, next one. Okay. It's hard to track this stuff. Our data are kind of all over the map. This is just our diversion goal. We're supposed to be up here. One of these lines includes construction demolition waste, one doesn't, because we have to account for the C and D waste from our new construction and big renovation projects. We're like, the last set of data I had, we were around 35%, not including construction demolition waste. Including C and D, we do a better job. It's more like 50 or 60. We gotta get up to 90 by next year. We might push that goal back 1 or 2 years, but we still have to move in that direction. Here's every UC campus. Can you guess which one is us?
You don't want to know.
There's a long ways to go. Why is this? There are a lot of reasons. The last, 12 years, we have relied on a hauler to provide us with data and to try to help us. They're a trash hauler. Come up with zero waste program. They didn't really work so well. We have a large growing population of people on campus that we have to educate about what's recyclable and growing our composting when we can compost. People coming in and out from all different languages, and we're growing, and people are busy, and it's very difficult for them to pay attention. So we have a zero waste working group that formed last summer. Kim's on there, Dave's been on there, Colin's on there, Allison's on there, Hugh's on there. It's a great group of people. We have a suite of recommendations I'm putting in a zero waste plan and how we can move in the right direction. And we've already started to implement a lot of actions you may have seen. Jen can go back to your amazing, because of Jen's brilliance and working with communications people, we have very great detailed recycling signage about what's recyclable, what's not, and in certain spots, because it's not the same for labs as it is for offices, and there's some student-focused ones. She now has a trilingual sign. These are things we can print out and share with people who want this level of detail. What we're gonna do in some of the common areas is get bigger, easier to read, more icon-based signs, kind of following what University Center's done in their areas, in common area trash and recycling locations, and get some big posters and really help to get people's attention and make them stop and think. And we're rolling out bin buddies across the university, which if you haven't seen them yet, are coming to state-funded buildings at least, which is a smaller little black trash can attached to your big recycling bin. It's gonna get people to stop and really think before they just throw stuff away. We have a whole suite of strategies we're rolling out. Yes?
I have a question about
course.
metal
Yes.
waste on campus. So maybe some of you don't know, out in the campus services, we have a 40-yard dumpster just for metal that FM, they put old metal in there, and it can come from all over campus. When I go by there, I see copper in there, and brass, and bronze.
Mm-hmm.
Does the waste hauler separate that and say, oh, UCSD, you generated 200 pounds of copper waste, here's that money off of your bill?
Right now, we just get data on metal, on what Republic is gathering for metal and sending to EDCO. And they were lumping everything together into one recycling rebate for the campus. So whatever they were able to sell for any recyclable commodity, we would get a rebate. Given the China Green Sword program, I think a number of you have probably heard this, China has basically pretty much banned taking recyclables from the United States, in large part because we have not done a good job of keeping trash out of our recycling. So that has impacted the markets for where EDCO and other places can sell recyclables, so they're having to shift stuff, and we stopped getting a rebate from them sometime this year. They actually upped their prices for us. Our RFP is out now for the university to get a new hauler or set of haulers for all of our non-regulated, non-hazardous trash and recycling. And we are hoping we get multiple companies responding, because a trash hauler is not a good one to oversee your recycling and where your recyclables are going. So I'm hoping we see companies more focused on recycling, responding to even that part of the RFP, and then maybe a trash hauler for what remains. And then I'm hoping, we have a decision, campus leadership has a decision to make. How much do we want to let those companies deal with our recyclables and take the money from them? Or do we want to go back to some of what we were doing years ago, which is maybe collecting and sorting some of our own stuff and selling it to then fund our zero waste program? There'll have to be some decisions made around that. So they may be pulling apart the copper and brass and all that stuff and selling it. I don't get that track data yet.
But it was included in our total
Yes.
rebate that we got
Yes,
back.
it was just all metal.
Problem is now, they're not getting money for the other recyclables, so we're really not getting much of any kind of.
Yeah, this has impacted everybody nationwide, not just us.
Okay.
Green labs, so one of the ways that we try to reach a number of our goals, zero waste, carbon neutrality, water conservation, is educating people and getting them involved. And we have 2 certification programs. Jen will talk about office. This is Green Labs. And we have a full team of people working on this. Jen and her team have certified over 53 labs across campus. They share information on how they're doing around a lot of different areas of sustainability. They get assessed, and her team presents and helps them improve. 5 more in the queue coming. But we also do stuff as a team behind the scenes. There's staff from procurement, FM, EH&S, us, working together to try to help either change policies or infrastructure to make it easier for labs to be cleaner. So we've done stuff like reinvigorated a chem cycle program where labs, if they have unopened chemicals they don't want, instead of throwing them away or disposing of them in hazardous waste, they can send them to chem cycle. EH&S maintains it, and then any lab can go order these chemicals for free and have them delivered through Marketplace. So we're coming up with programming like that for labs, and there's more to come.
Yeah. Are you, is it me?
Go for it.
I'll just take this with me, it's a little bit easier for me. I don't multitask very well, so like having to tell you to hit the button would throw me all off. So hi everyone, I think most of you know me, I'm Jen Bowser. I do manage the Sustainability Resource Center, which is downstairs. We provide a lot of resources there. Let me show you where it is. We're upstairs, it's downstairs. Okay, so we provide a lot of resources, primarily for students. It is generally a student space, but the way I like to think about the Resource Center is you can come and find one of us to talk about all the things you just heard about in person. A lot of sustainability needs to happen through the infrastructure, which is what Sarah and Dave just talked about. I really tell you about how you can make a difference in implementing, changing your behaviors and what's available on the campus to do that. So we have a couple of different things at the Resource Center. We take specialty recycling. Allison has sort of a sister program down at SIO to that, so you don't have to just come to main campus for it. Sarah and Dave talked a lot about our Green Labs program. Our certified labs 1 year, probably 2 years ago, said, we know that packing peanuts, air cushions, and bubble wrap are not recyclable materials. You need to do something about it. So the response was we put a bin in BSB with Jose's help. Custodians give us bags to collect these things. We have a certified lab that tips us off when the bin gets too big. But then we partnered with the library and we gave them a bin because they're a certified office. And what we collect in the SRC, we went a step farther and we partnered with Amazon. So if you've heard that Amazon is recycling their packaging materials from when customers open shipments in store, that's because they bring it to us on a weekly basis. So never open the door to my office because it is full of packaging material until my interns can bring it to the grocery store, which is a partnership with Trex. Trex is the company that makes faux wood for decking and benches. So we are now recording everything that we're collecting, we're weighing it, and we're telling Trex how much we're collecting and giving to them. When we're done, if we collect 500 pounds, which should be sometime next month, we get a free bench. Not what I'm concerned about. More that what we really want to do is come up with a program to collect film campus-wide and not have it be a project that just me and my interns are managing. But as you know, it takes a lot of effort to do that, and it would take a partnership with Financial Services, who manages Trade Street. It would take a partnership with our sister department, Facilities Management, to have custodians help us collect that in buildings. So it's happening, but kind of slowly. The packing peanuts have nothing to do with film. So we partnered with the mailing center, which is no longer in PC. It's out by Campus Service Complex, where you can get your passport. And they take the packing peanuts and they offer them to customers for free. So we've kind of closed the loop in that respect, but there's still a lot of work that can be done. And then there has been a huge response to reducing plastic straw waste on campus, but the Inter-Sustainability Council, which I'll talk about a little bit, slide or two later, is selling metal straws at the SRC for fundraising. So if you're interested, we did add boba straws by request. They have a little point on the end, not a straw, not a really pointy straw, but it's there. We came up with this flyer September of last year, and it really just highlights all the ways that you can implement sustainability on campus through behavior change. And this is available on our blog as links, so you can click on these and it will lead you to what the action items are. Dave mentioned that we have a virtual sustainability tour, so if you go to the map, which if you just Google UCSD map, there's two tabs up in the left-hand corner. One is locations. You can scroll down to a button that says sustainability, and we've loaded all of the sustainability sites that we can there, so you can look at them individually, or you can click on that other tab that says tour, and it will lead you through. On the bottom here, you can see one is highlighted, which is the SRC, but then there's others. So you could have it on your phone and you could walk around campus. We are the only tour available on that map so far. You've heard a little bit about Green Labs and Green Office. When people come into the SRC, their first question is, what can I do to implement more sustainable practices? I can't answer that question easily if someone's working in an office or lab, because it kind of takes everyone's effort to make a space more sustainable. And so we use these programs, which requires people to do an online survey, which I would say 50% of you here have done. The office one's a little bit easier. It's probably 35 questions. The lab one is 145 questions. At the end of it, what it tells us is what is the office or lab already doing really well, and then what recommendations can we make for people to implement more sustainable practices. And we bring a bunch of swag, including posters and stickers, sporks. In some cases, we have reusable batteries and chargers, really just trying to help the office or lab to be better at what they need to do. You've heard about all of these goals. The Green Labs and Green Office program touches upon all of these, and again, how behavior change, what can be done to affect those. In addition to Green Labs and Green Office and the SRC, I have all of this. So we are the Staff Sustainability Network. We also started an alumni network almost 2 years ago. We have 200 members that are part of that group, and we send them job postings so they know what's out there. We invite them to events that are primarily for students to interact with people that are doing sustainability in the real world. I mentioned the Inter-Sustainability Council. That is a registered student org, but SSN's actually part of it. It really brings together any group or individual on campus that has a sustainability focus with the purpose of networking, collaborating. It really is our vehicle for getting the word out to a variety of different groups. I do manage our communications, which is our website, our blog, all of our social media, and we have a newsletter. But ISC is just another way for us to get other information out. Grow UCSD, which Chris and I are the advisors for, it is kind of like ISC. It's the coalition of all of the gardens on campus. So if someone comes to us and says, I want to get involved in a garden, or I'm interested in composting, and how do I do this, we refer them to Grow, which meets every 2 weeks. And that group is actually really successful. They share their challenges. Other gardens offer some help. Chris offers a ton of help. So it really works. And we started that, I don't know, like 3 years ago, and it's going really well. Dave talked about the Carbon Neutrality Initiative. We get funding from the Office of the President for some students, and that's the Sustainability Ambassadors. Yes, Chris?
It's interesting how every logo there has a plant part on it.
Yes. By design, I guess. So the Sustainability Ambassadors presented to SSN sometime last year. We get a different group of students every year, and really they talk about carbon neutrality, the initiative, and kind of the behaviors that impact that. I'll plug the Sustainability Awards. We are taking nominations through March 11th. So there is a staff award, but there's also faculty, student group, department. So if you're in a department that's doing great work,
And
nominate
vendor.
yourself. What's that?
Vendors.
There's vendor and alumni. You can nominate as many times as you want, as long as it's a unique nomination. You can nominate anonymously. Please nominate. We do have a fabulous award ceremony that's on May 9th. It's at the Loft. It's catered. It's only an hour, and then it's followed by just networking and having fun. So please come. It's a great time. And then last but not least, April is Earth Month. So we will start promoting all sorts of events. We already have a bunch that are planned more for the latter part of the month, although Sarah mentioned we have a Green Labs Fair that's happening April 4th. We're going to do she didn't really talk about the Cool Campus Challenge.
Yeah.
How many people participated in the Cool Campus Challenge back in 2016? 16? 17? 16. That's coming back. It's going to kick off on April 1st, and so we're going to have a kickoff event in front of the SRC. It basically is an online tool that you use to commit actions that you do and then verify that you're doing them, and it's a challenge competing against each campus. So that's happening in April, just to add to the chaos. Does anyone have any questions?
Right on time.
Yeah, I mean, I can go on forever, but I don't want to keep you any longer.
Is there any, with the waste, is there any kind of grading system for either how much garbage is ending up in recycle or vice versa, and or if single-use plastics is gonna be reduced or eliminated, especially with the kind of either Burger King or Starbucks or Jamba Juice?
Hugh, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so the city of San Diego just came out with an ordinance that is effective this week, in fact. And part of that, we were ahead of the city of San Diego in eliminating styrofoam. Now the second question, part of your question, is the single-use plastics. That is on a request-only basis, so straws and forks and knives, utensils are on an ask-first policy. There is, for example, for TapX, they're allowing straws to be on a condiment table, so they have that exclusion or a carve out as an exemption. It's really difficult with certain vendors like Tapioca Express and Jamba Juice to sell their product without straws. It really is. So, but they have stopped putting the straws in the drink automatically. Right? So, and then, David and Jen can talk about the compostability of utensils, single-use plastics. Even if our vendors were to spend the extra dollars, which is significant, the compostability of those utensils is in question.
Yep.
They just don't break down that fast. So, we're doing the best we can.
Yes. So Rogers does take compostable disposables to conduct research on, to hopefully have a recommendation for if you're hosting an event, here's a better product to buy because it will break down. But like you saying, we've found that a lot of the disposables have to be shredded, so we would need to buy a shredder in order to break those down enough for the anaerobic digester to eat them. If we were large scale, I think that would be a different scenario, but we're not there yet. So it is kind of does it make sense to have compostables if they're gonna end up going to the landfill, and does that really help? Compared to recyclables that potentially could be recycled into something else. And really what we want people to do is just use reusables. Have your reusable straw. If Jamba Juice and TapX, bless you, are not putting a straw in there, then you can have your own straw. I mean, or bring your own container if that's an option, like at Starbucks. Jamba Juice too does a reusable cup, but probably not TapX is my guess.
Yeah.
Well, I can imagine that the people, the youth here recycle better, but it's still amazing everywhere that I go. I look in all three bins and am dumbfounded by how much stuff ends up in the wrong bin. So it's like, what's the point of having recyclables when they